The detention facility on Chrometh 7 had held thousands of species over its 3-century operation, but Warden Ziegther had never encountered anything quite like the humans. Emory sat cross-legged in her cell, sketching patterns in the dust with her finger. At 19 Earth years, she was barely more than a child by most galactic standards. Yet she'd been detained for unlicensed biological transport. Specifically, a small Earth creature she'd smuggled aboard a cargo freighter. The Galactic Council had strict protocols about introducing foreign species into established ecosystems. "You understand the charges, yes?" Ziegther's translator clicked as he approached her cell. His 4 eyes blinked in succession, a sign of authority among his kind. "I understand you took Badger," Emory replied softly. Not looking up, the warden's mandibles twitched in what approximated amusement. The creature in question, a compact mammal with distinctive black and white markings, had been secured in the facility's biological containment unit. It had hissed and growled during processing, but ultimately proved harmless enough. "The animal will be returned to Earth along with you after your sentence," Ziegther assured her. 60 cycles of detention, then deportation. Emory finally looked up, her brown eyes meeting his. "You shouldn't have put him in a cage." "Everything here is in a cage," the warden replied. "That is the nature of a detention facility." What Ziegther didn't know, what most of the galaxy didn't know, was that honey badgers were not pets. They were not docile. They were nature's embodiment of relentless fury, wrapped in a deceptively small package. 3 days later, Payton arrived. The young man was 22, with dark hair and the characteristic calm demeanor that marked experienced human spacers. He'd been detained for assault on a station official, though the official in question had attempted to confiscate his cargo illegally, a detail lost in the bureaucratic shuffle. Ziegther placed him in the cell adjacent to Emory's. "Another human," the warden observed. "Your species has become troublesome lately." Payton shrugged, settling onto the bare bench. "We're just trying to make our way in the galaxy, same as everyone else." Through the transparent barrier, Emory caught Payton's attention. They exchanged glances, the silent communication of 2 humans far from home. That night, the screaming started. It came from the biological containment sector, a sound that shouldn't have been possible. The honey badger, patient and calculating, had worked at the molecular lock of its enclosure for 3 days straight. Its claws, evolved to tear through termite mounds and beehives, had found purchase in the alien technology's weak points. Badger was free, locked down. Ziegther's voice echoed through the facility as alarms wailed. "Security teams to biocontainment." The first guard who encountered the creature learned what humans had known for millennia. Honey badgers don't retreat. The Ythrian security officer, 3 times Badger's size, stumbled backward as the animal charged with single-minded ferocity. Its teeth, designed to crack bones, found the soft joints in the guard's exoskeleton. Emory stood at her cell barrier, watching the chaos unfold through the facility's corridors. A small smile played at her lips. Payton moved beside his own barrier. "Is that what I think it is?" "That's Badger," Emory confirmed. "I tried to warn them." "They hit him, didn't they?" Payton asked, though he already knew the answer. He'd seen the bruise marks on the creature during processing standard compliance measures, according to Chrometh 7 protocols. "The warden struck him during intake," Emory said quietly. "That was a big mistake." The honey badger moved through the facility like a force of nature. It didn't kill, not intentionally, but it disabled every guard that stood between it and its primary objective. Security footage would later show the creature navigating ventilation shafts, climbing walls, and solving basic mechanical locks with terrifying intelligence. Ziegther assembled his full security team, 20 armed guards with neural disruptors. "It's one small animal. Contain it." But Badger had already reached the detention wing. The creature appeared outside Emory's cell, battered but unbowed. Blood matted its fur, none of it its own. It looked at her through the barrier and made a low, rumbling sound. "He's going to free her," Payton observed with something like awe. "That's what this whole thing has been about." And he was right. Badger attacked the cell's control panel with systematic precision, ignoring the energy burns from the electrical discharge. Its claws found the manual release a safety feature required by galactic law, and pulled. Emory's cell opened, she knelt down, and Badger climbed into her arms, finally allowing himself to show exhaustion. "Good boy," she whispered. "Such a good boy." Ziegler arrived with his security team to find the human girl standing in the corridor, her arms around the creature that had torn through his facility. He raised his weapon, but something in the scene gave him pause. "You see it now, don't you?" Payton called from his cell. "That's not a pet. That's family. And humans don't abandon family." The warden's translator struggled with his next words. "This creature, it crossed an entire facility." "For her? Honey badgers are loyal," Emory said simply. "And they never, ever forget when someone hurts their people." "You struck him, Warden." He struck back. "The only reason you're still standing is because I wouldn't want him to." For a long moment, Ziegler stood frozen. In his 3 centuries of service, he'd processed thousands of beings. He'd seen violence, defiance, desperation. But he'd never seen devotion quite like this, mutual, absolute, unbreakable. He lowered his weapon. "The Council will hear of this," he said finally. "But perhaps they will also hear that your unlicensed biological transport was not contraband, but companionship." He paused. "And perhaps they will hear that our protocols require revision." 3 weeks later, Emory and Payton stood on the loading dock of Chrometh 7, free citizens awaiting transport back to human space. Badger sat at Emory's feet, anew, collar marking him as a registered companion animal, the first of his species to receive such designation. Payton looked at the small creature with newfound respect. "Remind me never to get between a human and their honey badger." Emory smiled, scratching behind Badger's ears. "That's good advice for the whole galaxy." As their transport lifted off, Warden Ziegler watched from his office viewport. He'd learned something valuable during their detention, something the rest of the galaxy would soon understand. Humans bonded with the strangest creatures, and those bonds, once formed, were utterly unbreakable.